Hello, this is Nikki Jackson from Southwest Tennessee Community College, and this video is covering examples taken from Self-Check 4.2 and Math 1710. Here's your first example where it's asking you to find the indicated sum. So this symbol right here is sigma, which indicates the summation. So what that is that you're going to add each one of these terms up to 6. So here's an example for how I wrote it out. So I'm going to rewrite it in expanded form. So notice how I substituted I for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Since this symbol means addition, you add all them up, and then you have a total of 210. Tongue-tied, my apologies. You may also use this in a calculator, but it's depending on what version of the calculator that you have. Please take a moment to retrieve it. So notice how I have a TI-84 plus. So some of you might have the older version, which is a TI-83. So I'm going to show you 2 different ways to input it. So with this particular version of the calculator, once I put it on, I can hit the math key. Once I hit the math key, I can go down, and notice how you have the summation option. So hit enter. Rather than using I, we're going to use X, and we know that our first one is 1. Use your up arrow key to go to 6. Ignore that 7 4. That was just a previous example. So we're doing a lot of moving around. Now we're going to put in the 10x. Use your right arrow key. So let me do that again without the 7 4 being in. So go to your math key. Go down until you see summation. Use X, then 1. Use your up arrow key, put 6. Use your right arrow key, then put 10x. Use your right arrow key again, enter. Voila, we have the same answer. If you have a different version of the TI-83 or the TI-84, take a moment to look at this now. You're going to hit your second, then stat key. Use your right arrow key, go to math, look for sum. But we have to hit the second and stat key again, go over to operations, look for sequence. So different people have different versions of it. So for us, we're going to have in 10x for your expression. X as your variable. You're going to start with number 1, then you're going to end with the number 6, and there was only one step, but that was the multiplication. Hit paste, and you have the same answer. So those of you who have an older version, you would have to use the summation sequence because it may not be listed as such. Your 10x, your x, your 1, your 6, and 1. So if it's for a TI-83, which is, again, that's an older calculator, write it down first so you'll be able to do it. So once again, let me go back over those steps for this part. Hit second, stat, go over to math, go down to sum, second, stat again. Use your right arrow key for operations. Go down to sequence. I have a typo, y'all. So my bad. There we go. Yours may not look like this. It may look more so like this with just the open parentheses with the word sequence in front of it. So you're going to, again, use your expression as 10. Your variable is x. Your starting point at 1, end point at 6, and then just one step. So again, write it out. Mine is a different version of the calculator, but you still come out with the same answer. Now I wanted to show you the calculator way because what if your sequence was a bit larger? You might have a whole lot more steps to do. In regards to sequence, let's move on to your next example. This is a arithmetic sequence. Well, in fact, it's really not a arithmetic sequence. But you could say that it is because you're adding the same constant. In this case, your constant is 7. Notice how it's already given to you. So this formula simply means you're going to start off with A1 as 3 and then add 7. This part right here is a little bit confusing, but I tried to show you an example right here where you have n minus 1 equals 3 plus 7, which gives you 10. And then you just keep recurring, meaning that it's the previous answer plus 7, on and on and on. So be careful with those. Notice how it also does not say summation, so you don't have to use this right here. It just wants you to list the actual terms. Now, going back to what we covered in bits and pieces for 4.1. This is dealing with Conet section. This particular one is a parabola. Now you may recall that a parabola is almost like a U when you actually graph it. And the formula is provided for you. So going back to some of the notes that were given to you, you need to find the focus and the directive. So what that means is where it's actually going to start turning in particular points on the graph. Notice how your X is given to you first. So you know that it's going to be on the X-axis. So you can eliminate A and C. So now we're either looking at graph B or D. Well, let's determine which one it is. So you know that your standard form for a parabola when it's horizontal is x squared equals 4py. We want to find p. That's very important right here because that's helping us with our focus and our directive. Well, since this is 4p, which is your 36, divide 36 by 4, you know that your p is 9. Your focus, only dealing with the x-axis, is going to be 0p. Therefore, your focus is going to be 0 and 9. Note, if this was rewritten as y squared equals 36x, you have something different, meaning that these were going to be switched in places only if it was y-axis. Right now, it's dealing with the x-axis. Your directive, which is dealing with the y-axis, because remember, you're dealing with y-symmetry because it's horizontal, is going to be negative p. Thus, your directive is negative 9. So when it's time to graph, it's kind of good that you have multiple choices rather than trying to do it step by step. We know the vertex is going to be 0 because notice how you only have x squared. There's no coefficient in front of it. Therefore, your vertex is 0 and 0. Now to find other points on the graph, which you may need, we're going to substitute with our directive and what our focus was. Actually, we're going to use P. So I'm going to substitute P back into the actual formula. So 36 times 9. That gives you 324. Take the square root of 324. Now you have plus and negative 18. So when you're looking for these 2 points, you're going to use negative 18 and 9 and positive 18 and 9. That's going to help you graph. The most easier way to know that is that this is where your graph starts turning away from the x-axis. Next, we're pertaining to factorials. You may recall that a factorial is the multiplication of a term all the way down to 1. So this is going to be 15 times 14 times 13 times 12 times 10 times 9 times 8 times 10 times 11. I just did it backwards. So 15 times 14 times 13 times 12 times 11 times 10 times 9 times 8 times 7 times 6 times 5 times 4 times 3 times 2 times 1. Okay, we don't want to do all of that because it's kind of difficult. So I'm going to show you how you use your calculator. So let me zoom out just a little. So hopefully you can see this. Now let me zoom in because I've zoomed out a little bit too much. We're going to put that 15 in first. We're going to hit our math key. Use your right arrow key, go to probability. Use your down arrow key until you see the exclamation point. Hit your division key. Put the 13 in. Hit your math key. Use your right arrow key to go to probability. Use your down arrow key for the exclamation point. Hit enter. Enter again. So voila. We have a final answer of 210. Let me do that one more time, because practice makes perfect. Type in the 15. Go to your math key. Go over to probability. Use your down arrow key. Oops, I didn't. There we go. Do your down arrow key to exclamation. Divided by 13. Math key. Probability again. Down to exclamation, which is known as your factorial, and hit enter. So yay, we got that answer. We got that answer. Your next example is dealing with a word problem. And oh joy, we just love word problems. So let me zoom in for a moment. Ooh, not that much, you need to read it. And take a moment to actually read it. Awesome. So notice how you're dealing with a parabola because you see the word parabola. Writing it in standard form, we know that we're going to have to use the numbers 500 and 100 for a particular reason. Those are very important. So what we want to know is like, what is the height? So if you look at the picture carefully, what number is relevant to height? Would it be 500 or 100? Notice how the 100 is vertical, the 500 is horizontal. Therefore, in relevance to this one, we're going to be looking at 100. So, first thing we're going to do, and that 5 is just the example number. We're going to use standard form for the parabola, which is x squared equals 4p. We want to find what p is. And I said find 4. So my apologies for that. So we're going to find p. We're going to let both x and y equals 100. Remember, that's coming from the height. So I'm going to substitute in x as 100 and substitute y as 100. So once I do that, I know I have 10,000 equals 400p. Divide the 10,000 by 400, we know that our p is going to be 25. Therefore, the cable is going to be 25 feet from the road surface. Because again, we're only looking at the height. So be careful with that one. You would do the same thing, except you would do opposite. Or switch it out if you're doing it for the horizontal purposes. And your last example for self-check 4.2. Still pertaining to opponent sections. So this one is dealing with a hyperbola. You're not going to worry about the asymptotes, where they actually stop. But I do want to point out something. Notice how the y comes first. Therefore, we're going to have some type of y symmetry. Now, when you're dealing with y symmetry, that's not going to be left and right. It's going to be up and down. So you're either looking at A or B. So let's see which one we're actually going to focus on. So, since the y comes first, we have the y symmetry. The next step is rewriting it in standard form, which was already provided for you. But remember, you have to know what A and B are. So we know that A is going to be square root of 49, which is plus or minus your 7. And we know that B is going to be the square root of 25, so that's going to be plus or minus 5. So your vertices is where they actually touch the point on the y-axis are going to be at positive 7 and negative 7. Again, this is pertaining to the y-axis. Next, we got to look for the foci. So notice how we're using the parabola
the Pythagorean theorem. So substitute in your a and b, and now take the square root of it. Now remember, square root can be both positive and negative. Therefore, your foci are going to be 0 and negative square root of 74 and 0 positive square root of 74. So notice how your vertices are going to be 0, 7, and 0, negative 7. And it's Y symmetry. So notice how right here, for this particular graph, you're going to have the 7 and a negative 7. And this is going to be your graph right there. Now, though this one right here also has 7 and negative 7, but those are for your x-axis. Notice how your y-axis comes first. Please use YouTube, Khan Academy, or the video lectures posted in stcc.mylastcourse for more details. So thank you, ladies, gents, and individuals, and continue to do a great job.